Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're jumping into how the digital world stays safe using something called security alerting and monitoring.
Exactly. Think of it like a high-tech security system for all your digital stuff.
Yeah, like a building full of valuable info. And this is the 24/7 camera system, the sensors, the guards, all watching to make sure nothing gets, well, pinched.
That's a really good way to think about it. We're essentially looking at how organizations proactively watch their whole digital setup. Servers, computers, even phones.
And our goal today is to kind of unpack all that, right? Make sense of the important bits without needing a PhD in computer science.
Precisely. We want you to get the core ideas.
Okay, so we've looked into how companies monitor all their computing resources, systems, appliances, network defenses, the whole lot.
And it's not just watching, is it? It's about doing things, too.
Right, like gathering all those digital footprints, log aggregation, we'll call it, and setting up alarms alerting. Plus, checking for weak spots, making reports, keeping old records.
And importantly, what happens when an alarm actually goes off? The response.
Yeah, the response and remediation part. And we'll look at some key tools too, won't we? Things like SAMP, SNMP, and DLP. Heard of those?
We have, and by the end of this, you'll have a much clearer idea of what they do and why they're, frankly, essential.
Cool. Let's dive in. Monitoring computing resources. First up, log files. Sounds a bit dry, maybe? What are they really?
Well, they're basically just text files. Almost everything digital creates them automatically. They record what happened, when it happened, system events, errors, who did what.
Like a running commentary from the system itself.
Exactly. A chronological history. Super useful as an audit trail. You can track events, spot weird stuff, hopefully prevent breaches.
So if something blows up, you can check the log, like rewinding security footage.
Precisely that. It helps you trace problems. We've got an example here. See these entries. Succeed, but then operation aborted, not in setup.
Yeah. What does that tell us?
It tells us the initial request worked, but something later in the process wasn't right, so it stopped. Tiny details like that in logs can be huge clues when you're investigating a potential security issue.
Ah, I see. Like digital breadcrumbs. Now, what about security logs? Are they different?
Yeah, they're a specific type. They focus purely on access, who tried to get into what, and were they allowed. So successful logins, but also, crucially, failed attempts.
Like the bouncers list at a club. Who got in, who got turned away?
Yeah, not a bad analogy. And they do double duty. They're an audit trail, like we said, but also an early warning. Lots of failed logins from one place, red flag.
Right, someone rattling the doorknobs.
Right.
Okay, then system monitors. Watching the actual machines, servers, workstations.
Spot on. Servers, desktops, laptops, phones, the endpoints. Monitoring them means tracking performance, like CPU usage, memory, network traffic. They're vital signs, basically.
Checking the pulse and temperature of the tech.
That's a great way to put it. You figure out what's normal, that's your baseline, and set thresholds. If CPU suddenly hits 100%, that's an anomaly. Could be innocent, could be malware. Needs checking.
Got it. And application monitors, so monitoring the software now.
Exactly. Email, browsers, company software. Are they running okay? Is the website fast? But also, crucially, checking their specific logs, error messages, user activity within the app.
So if, like, my accounting software suddenly tries to access HR files, that's a problem.
Big problem. Yeah, that's the kind of unusual behavior that screams security incident. And good monitoring tools can often react automatically, maybe block that process.
Handy. Okay, infrastructure monitors. What falls under that?
That's the bedrock. Network gear routers, switches, databases, cloud services, making sure they're up, running correctly, and secure.
Checking the digital plumbing and foundations.
Pretty much. Using network monitoring tools, database activity monitors, cloud security stuff, looking for unauthorized access, data leaks, misconfigurations, those little mistakes that leave doors open.
Makes sense. Okay, moving on to some specific tools. SNMP. Sounds like a sneeze.
Simple Network Management Protocol. It's a really common standard for monitoring network devices, routers, switches, servers, printers, even IoT gadgets, like a common language they all speak.
A universal translator for network gear. How does it work?
Okay, you've got SNMP agents, little bits of software on each device collecting info. Then you have SNMP managers, central systems doing the asking. They send requests like get set, get next T.
Asking the agent, how busy are you, kind of thing.
Yeah, asking for data stored in the MIB, the Management Information Base. That's like the device's info catalog.
So the manager's the supervisor checking in.
Good way to think of it. And then there are SNMP traps. These are important. They're like spontaneous alerts from the agent.
The device itself can shout for help.
Exactly. If there's a hardware failure or a security issue detected, the agent sends a trap straight to the manager. Real-time warning. Hey, something's wrong.
Okay, that's useful. And all this data feeds into...
Often into a network management system, an NMS. These tools visualize everything. Dashboards, usually. Green is good, yellow's a warning, red means trouble, based on thresholds you set.
Nice visual overview. Now, NIDS and NIPS sound related. Security cousins.
Definitely related. NIDS is Network Intrusion Detection System. Think of it as a passive observer on your network. It watches traffic, looking for known attack patterns or suspicious activity.
Like a network security camera, just watching.
Exactly. If it sees something dodgy, it raises an alert. Hey, look at this. And this is key, it doesn't usually stop the activity. It detects. It doesn't block. Early warning.
So it spots the burglar but doesn't tackle them.
You got it. Now, NIPS Network Intrusion Prevention System is more proactive. It does the detection and takes action.
This one is the bouncer. It stops the trouble.
Precisely. If it sees a threat, it can block it. Drop the malicious packets, block the source IP. It intervenes. It enforces security policy too. And yes, it also generates alerts, just like NIDS.
Gotcha. 9PS is NIDS plus muscle. Okay, we've covered the watching. Let's talk doing. Core activities. Log aggregation first. Why gather all the logs?
Well, imagine logs scattered across hundreds, maybe thousands of devices, trying to investigate an issue by looking at them one by one. Nightmare.
Like a jigsaw puzzle with pieces in different rooms.
Exactly. Log aggregation brings all those pieces to one table, centralizes them. It gives you a single view, lets you correlate events across different systems, spot connections you'd otherwise miss.
Connect the dots, see the bigger picture. Makes sense. And SIEM systems help with this.
Hugely. SIEM security information and event management is key for real-time aggregation and analysis. We'll talk more about SIEM later.
Okay. Next, alerting. Setting up those alarms we mentioned.
Yeah, it's about defining rules and thresholds in your security tools. If this specific thing happens, send an alert. Like, too many failed logins from one place, weird traffic spikes seen by your NIs or NIPS.
Tell the system, if X happens, notify me now.
Pretty much. Timely alerts mean you can investigate and hopefully stop something bad before it gets worse. But there's a balance.
How so?
Too many alerts, especially false alarms, lead to alert fatigue. Security teams get swamped and might miss the real thing. So you need to tune them.
Right, tune them. We'll come back to that. What about scanning? Actively poking around for problems.
Exactly. Systematically probing systems and networks for vulnerabilities. Weak software, bad configurations, hardware flaws, like a health checkup by automated tools.
Like checking for unlocked digital doors and windows.
Perfect analogy. Finding unpatched software, weak settings, open ports that shouldn't be open. Regular scans are vital to reduce your attack surface, the number of ways attackers could get in.
And there are different types.
Yeah.
Credentialed versus non-credentialed.
Yeah. Credentialed is like having the keys you log in do a deep internal check. Non-credentialed is the outside view, no special access. Both are useful.
Inside job versus checking the exterior.
Got it.
Next. Reporting. All this data must be overwhelming. How do you make it useful?
Reporting turns raw data and alerts into actionable intelligence. Structured reports, summaries, ways to understand what's going on.
Like a dashboard for your digital health.
Exactly. Customizable dashboards are common. Tools like SolarWinds NPM or Cisco DNA Center let you visualize key metrics. You also have compliance reports proving you meet regulations, and executive summaries for leadership.
So tailoring the info for different audiences makes sense. Even SIEM and SNMP generate reports.
Oh yes, SIEM reports on potential incidents, trends. SNMP reports give you network health, device status, traffic levels, really useful visibility.
Okay. And the last activity.
Yeah.
Archiving, storing old stuff. Why is that security?
It's about long-term data retention. Logs, emails, files. Crucial for a few reasons. One, post-incident analysis. If you get breached, you need historical data to figure out what happened.
Go back in time to investigate.
Exactly. 2, compliance. Laws often require you to keep data for years. 3, data recovery. If data gets lost or encrypted by ransomware, archives are your backup.
So it's for investigations, legal needs, and disaster recovery, not just digital hoarding.
Definitely not. SIEMs have policies for this. often rotating older logs to cheaper, secure storage to keep the main system fast.
Okay, that covers the main activities. Now, what happens when alerts fire? Response and remediation. Let's talk quarantine, isolating stuff.
Yeah, just like in medicine. If a system, laptop, server, network segment seems compromised, maybe malware is detected, you isolate it from the network.
Put the sick computer in a virtual isolation room.
That's the idea. Stops the infection spreading. Security tools can often do this automatically for severe alerts. Sometimes an analyst reviews it first. How long depends on the problem and cleanup needed.
Makes sense. Don't want to lock down a key server longer than needed, but got to be sure it's clean. Okay, alert tuning. Getting the alarms just right.
Precisely. Optimizing alerts to cut down the noise, the false alarms, so you only get notified about real, actionable issues. And making sure you don't miss critical threats because they're buried.
Like adjusting a smoke detector so burnt toast doesn't set it off, but a real fire does.
Perfect analogy. You get different alert outcomes. A false positive. Alarm goes off, but it's nothing. A false negative. There is a problem, but the alarm doesn't go off. That's bad. And a true positive. Alarm goes off, and it is a real issue.
So tuning aims for fewer false positive and no false negatives, ideally maximizing true positives.
Exactly. Too many false positives cause that alert fatigue we mentioned. People stop paying attention.
How do you tune them? Just tweak settings.
Pretty much. Adjusting thresholds, refining the rules that trigger alerts. If one rule keeps flagging normal activity, you might make it less sensitive or more specific, and you absolutely need priorities. Critical alerts must get immediate attention.
So if your thresholds are too low, you drown in minor alerts, a sign of misconfiguration.
Definitely. It's a constant balancing act.
Yeah, okay, got it. Let's move on to those tools with the cool acronyms. SCCP first. Security Content Automation Protocol. What's that do?
Think of SCAP as a framework, a set of standards to help automate security configuration and vulnerability management. It ensures systems follow agreed-upon security rules or benchmarks.
Like a standardized rulebook and an automated checker for your systems.
That's a good way to put it. It uses components like overload and vulnerability and assessment language, which is like a standard way to describe vulnerabilities, and XCCDF extensible configuration checklist description format, which is for creating machine-readable security checklists.
So instead of paper checklists, the computer can read it and check itself.
Right. It standardizes how you define security settings and how you check compliance automatically. Makes things much more consistent and efficient.
Okay. And you mentioned benchmarks. Where do they come in?
Benchmarks are the actual best practice guides, like here's how to securely configure Windows Server, or here's the best setup for this Cisco router. A major source is the Center for Internet Security, or CIS.
CIS.
Yeah, they work with industry experts, vendors, NIST. They create these CIS benchmarks that are widely respected standards.
The gold standard for secure setup guides.
Pretty much. And vulnerability scanners use these CIS benchmarks. They check your systems against the benchmark rules to see if you're compliant.
Ah, so the scanner knows what good looks like based on the CIS benchmark.
Exactly. And they often use CVSS scores to tell you how severe any found vulnerabilities are. Following these benchmarks is often key for meeting regulatory requirements, too. Helps avoid fines.
Right. SCAP is a framework. CIS provides the benchmarks. Makes sense. Now, agents versus agentless data collection.
Two main ways to get data from monitoring. Agent-based means you install a small piece of software and the agent on each device you want to monitor.
Like a little spy on each machine reporting back.
Yeah, sort of. It collects performance data, config info, security logs, and sends it to a central system, like a SIEM.
Okay, and agentless.
Agentless doesn't install software on the endpoints. It uses existing protocols, SNMP, WMI, things like that, to remotely query devices and pull information, usually done by dedicated network sensors or collectors.
So less setup on each machine, but relies on the device's built-in communication.
Correct. Both have pros and cons. Agents can often get deeper data, but deployment can be complex. Agentless is easier to deploy maybe, but might not get as much detail. Depends on your needs.
Understood. Okay, SIEM. We've mentioned it a lot. Security, information, and event management. Sounds like the big brain of the operation.
That's a perfect description. It's the central hub. It collects security data from everywhere: firewalls, servers, networks, endpoints, applications, databases, antivirus. You name it.
Gathers everything in one place.
Yes, that's data collection.
Yeah.
Then data aggregation, it combines and normalizes the data so it's all in a consistent format. But the real magic is correlation.
Correlation. Connecting the dots again.
Exactly. It analyzes events from all these different sources, looking for patterns, anomalies, connections that might indicate an attack, even if individual events look harmless alone.
So it's actively hunting for threats hidden in the noise.
Absolutely. When it finds something suspicious based on its rules, it generates alerts. It can often trigger automated responses too, and it provides dashboards and reports for analysis. It's indispensable, really.
I can see why. Okay, quick one.
Yeah.
Antivirus. Everyone knows it. How does it fit here?
Antivirus is your endpoint guardian. It's constantly scanning for known malware signatures, looking for suspicious activity on that one machine.
So it finds a virus. Then what?
It takes action based on its settings, delete the file, quarantine it, try to clean it, and crucially, it logs these actions. That log data can then be fed into the SIEM for that bigger picture view.
Right, the local guard reporting back to central command. Makes sense. Now, DLP, data loss prevention. What's its job?
DLP is all about stopping sensitive data from leaving your organization when it shouldn't. PII, financial data secrets. It monitors outbound channels, email, USB drives, cloud uploads.
Trying to stop secrets escaping accidentally or on purpose.
Exactly. It often uses pattern matching, like using regular expressions regex to spot data that looks like credit card numbers or social security numbers. We've got a regex example here for credit cards.
Whoa, that looks complicated, but it finds card numbers.
Yep. You put that pattern into a DLP rule, say, on your email server. If someone tries to email data matching that pattern, DLP can block it, maybe notify someone, or just block it silently.
So it acts like a data border control.
Good analogy. It can also stop data being copied to USB drives. But for DLP to work well, you need data classification. You need to know what data is sensitive, so DLP knows what to protect.
Got to label your crown jewels. Got it. Okay, back to SNMP traps briefly. Why the revisit?
Just to emphasize their importance for real-time alerting, remember, the MIB is the device's info database. When something critical happens, hardware fails, threshold crossed, the SNMP agent sends that immediate trap message to the manager.
The device proactively yelling for help, not waiting to be asked.
Exactly. It's faster, more efficient for urgent issues than just relying on polling. Crucial for quick response.
Right. Now, NetFlow and IPFIX. Sounds like tracking network traffic.
Spot on. NetFlow, from Cisco, evolved into the IPFIX standard, is about understanding traffic flows. It groups packets with shared characteristics, source to destination IP, ports, protocol into a flow.
Categorizing communication streams based on who's talking to whom.
Precisely. It records info about these flows. Analyzing this NetFlow data helps you see who's using bandwidth, troubleshoot issues, and, for security, spot anomalies.
Like seeing weird traffic patterns.
Yeah.
A sudden surge to a known bad place.
Exactly that. Or maybe an internal server suddenly sending out unusual amounts or types of traffic. NetFlow helps you spot that, alert the team. It's like a detailed traffic map.
Useful for seeing digital traffic jams or suspicious detours. Okay, finally, revisiting vulnerability scanners one last time. Key takeaways.
They are your automated detectives, probing for weaknesses, sending packets, analyzing responses, finding outdated software, checking configurations against benchmarks like CIS. They identify gaps before attackers do.
Running scheduled checkups to find those unlocked doors.
Exactly. Identifying missing patches, misconfigurations, other exploitable gaps, using CBSS scores to help prioritize fixes. And Nessus is a popular example. You can check them out online if you're interested.
Good reminder.
No.
Okay, wow, that was a lot. We really covered the landscape of security alerting and monitoring. Can we maybe just boil down the key ideas?
Sure. Fundamentally, it's about continuous observation of your digital world, analyzing what's happening through logs and activity, and setting up smart alerts to catch threats early. It's proactive defense.
And involves key activities like log aggregation, alerting itself, scanning for weaknesses, reporting, and archiving data.
Right. And powered by essential tools. We looked at SCI for standards, SIEM for correlating everything, SNMP for network devices, and DLP for protecting data from leaving.
It definitely feels like understanding these pieces gives you a much better handle on how organizations actually try to stay secure online. It's complex, but vital.
Absolutely vital.